Let's see what we got here. There we go. There's our water damage. First thing we gotta do to get to that water damage is get rid of all the cabinetry around it. Alright, now we got the stove out. We took the drawers out just to make this a little bit easier. And I'm gonna go through and take the screws out that hold this piece in. There's back there. There's one on the back wall. There's one right there. And then there's one right here. So I'll take all those out and this whole assembly should come out. Yeah, there's some caulk right here, so I'll have to take my razor knife and just cut that line so it releases from the wall, and then it should all come out. Alright, so we got one of them out. Set it over there. And now that I can get under here, let's move these wires out of the way so I can feel soft, 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 and then it starts getting a little solid. So we're gonna have to peel this linoleum back as far as we can and get her fixed. So time to get this cabinet out. Now we gotta disconnect the drain lines and water lines. All right, and so we took this panel off, took the screws out that's holding it in there. We've got some inside this area here and along this wall, but it's hard to get to because the water heater's here. So we're gonna go ahead and take this out. We're gonna drain the fresh water lines, hot and cold, and then we're gonna disconnect the power and disconnect the 110 back there, and then we're gonna pull the water heater completely out of the hole, get it out of the way because we're gonna be fixing the floor underneath it anyway. So let's go ahead and get it out of there, and that'll give us more room to get all the screws off of this cabinet. All right, so we got the sink out. As you can see, I also pulled the water heater out, set it in one of those compartments, and then so now I think we can take a look at the damage to the floor. Let's see what we got here. There we go. There's our water damage. So it is going to be this. This is going to be our culprit. And so when water comes off the corner of the slide room, let's see if we can see inside there. There we go. So when the rain comes down this side of the slide, some of it's gonna come right here, and this is supposed to direct it to the outside of the coach, but it looks like it is not doing its job. So we'll have to do something about this. I'm gonna research it a little bit more and look and see exactly what I got going on, but it's probably gonna involve pulling all of this sealant out of there with a screwdriver, cleaning the thing out really well, and then packing it full of sealant again. But this thing could probably use some small little holes like right here down along this edge so that the water can go towards the outside instead of coming towards the inside. But I'll take a look when I get out there and see what we can do. But for now, I'm gonna grab the customer, show them the extent of the damage, and then we're gonna get to cutting this out and pulling all the junk wood up. All right, so let's go let the customer know. All right, so here's where we're at so far. So we got a lot of this cut back, everything that was affected for the most part. There's a little bit of discoloration over there, but it's not soft or anything like that. And this is just a good spot to cut, where we've got framing that I can work off of. What I did here is I actually channeled out the styrofoam so I can put a 2x4 under there, and I actually channeled about an inch back in this way. So the 2x4 I slid in and then back into that hole there so that I can screw this piece of wood into it and the other piece of wood into it, and it makes it you know, all one piece. As you can see, you got about that much of it going underneath the wood there. So I now have to go take the anchor out that attaches the floor to the frame, the chassis. And so I'll go outside, I'll take that bolt out, or take the nut off and then pull that bolt out. Same with this one over here. And then I've already got my wood cut to size. We'll get some spray foam, and I'll fill spray foam down in here. A little bit of spray foam here because some of the foam came up. A little bit of spray foam on here. I'll put the new wood down, screw it in, and yeah, then we'll get everything cleaned up around here so we can lay the floor back down. So that's where we're at. Alright, so here's where we're at. I have put a 2x4 brace in that's going to join the two sections together, because if I didn't put this 2x4 in, then when you step in this spot, it's going to be spongy if I just put the wood on top of it. So I did that there as well, and then when I put the wood on top of it, it's going to be solid. So now we're going to put this wood back in. I'm going to put a little bit of this spray foam here in between the gap here, the gap in between the wood and the foam here, fill a little bit in the spots there, and we're going to put this piece of wood back on top and screw it down. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Alright, so we have screwed this down, and I put spray foam down before I screwed it down, and then we went back with wood filler and strong nail and screw anchoring. So we're going to let this dry for a minute, and I'm going to sand it so that it gives us a nice, perfectly even finish. Because regardless of what you do, you know, to get all the way back to 100% untouched wood, I would probably need to come back to here. And which would mean we need to pull all this floor up, and we're just not going to do that. So instead, this was raised a little bit higher because it had been in contact with somewhat moisture. You see after I sand it down, I mean, it's really smooth, but it is inflated just a little bit. Like it's swollen just a bit, enough that there's a transition between the new wood and the old wood. So I sanded it down, put this wood filler on there. It's also going to fill that crack between the two pieces of wood, and then I'm going to sand this whole thing down perfectly smooth and flat. So we're going to let this dry, and then we'll get back to it. And I almost forgot to do an update, but we got the floor back down. It's completely smooth, solid. We got everything. We're starting to put the cabinets back together. But I mean, completely level and smooth. I drilled those out. Oh, there you go, you can see them. I drilled an extra couple, and then I drilled them out wider so the water will drain out more effectively. And yeah, that should solve our problem. We're gonna hit this with some water from a water hose before we're done, and then there's the seam that you can see, but the water heater is gonna be on top of that. So yep, that's what it looks like, guys. And here's the finished product. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, guys.